Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/EntitledPeople Stories. Today, we're diving into some Reddit podcast stories with Karen. Karen demands to censor my podcast. It doesn't end well for her. I, 25 female, work in marketing for a mid-sized company. I like my job and I'm good at it. Outside of work, I run a small podcast on the side where I talk about mental health, personal growth, and workplace boundaries. It's something I started doing during lockdown just as a way to process my own experiences and share things that I've learned. For context, my podcast is small. I don't use my full name, I don't mention my job, my company, or any of my coworkers. Everything I say is pretty general, based on things I've gone through or seen others go through. It's not gossip, it's not personal, just honest conversations about real stuff that people deal with at work. About 2 months ago, I posted an episode about toxic micromanagement and how it can quietly destroy team morale. In the episode, I told a story about a former boss I had at a different company a few years ago. This guy was a textbook micromanager, constant hovering, took credit for other people's work, and made it a nightmare to speak up. Eventually, I left that job because it became unbearable. Fast forward to last month. A coworker I don't know very well apparently found my podcast and shared it with a few other people at the office. Enter our office manager, who we'll call Karen. She's not my boss, but she's been at the company for a long time and definitely walks around like she owns the place. She's known for being too controlling, nosy, and a little too eager to insert herself into things that have nothing to do with her. She came storming into my office one afternoon, closed the door, and said, "We need to talk about your podcast." I was caught off guard, but I just said, "Okay." She told me she listened to my latest episode and that it was clearly about her. She said it was inappropriate, unprofessional, and could damage the company's image. Then she told me I needed to take it down immediately. I calmly told her the episode wasn't about her or this company. I reminded her I didn't name any names, and that nothing I said was even remotely connected to my current job. She wasn't having it. She said it didn't matter, that people in the office could make the connection, and that it was borderline insubordination. I didn't argue with her. I just told her I was happy to talk with HR if there were any actual concerns. That ended the conversation pretty quickly. Later that day, I did get a message from HR asking to meet. I wasn't even surprised. I gathered everything I thought they might ask about, including timestamps showing that I record and upload episodes on my own time, using my own equipment, and never from the office. The meeting with HR was surprisingly straightforward. I explained everything, showed them there were no policy violations, and they agreed. They said that as long as I continued keeping things general and professional, there was no issue with me running the podcast. That should have been the end of it, but of course, it wasn't. Over the next few weeks, Karen got weird. She started leaving me out of internal meeting invites she normally included me on. She forgot to send me updates on certain projects. She'd make snide comments when I walked into the break room like, "Oh, here comes our celebrity. Have you signed with Spotify yet?" It was petty. And I kept quiet at first, but I also kept notes. Dates, times, what was said or done. After a while, I sent a summary of it all to HR with a formal complaint. Turns out, I wasn't the first. A few days later, I got a message saying they were reviewing the situation and would follow up. Karen started acting even more distant, but she stopped the comments. Eventually, word got around that she was placed on a performance plan. She wasn't fired or anything, but the message was clear. I didn't say a word to anyone at work about it. I just kept my head down and did my job. But the support I got afterward was kind of amazing. A few coworkers pulled me aside and said they'd been listening to the podcast. One of them told me, "You say the stuff that I always think to myself." That meant more to me than I can explain. I ended up doing a follow-up episode about why standing your ground is worth it. I didn't mention anything specific, just shared the importance of protecting your peace and not letting fear of confrontation stop you from being honest. It became my most downloaded episode to date. Karen still works here, but she avoids me now, which is fine. I don't need an apology. I just needed her to leave me alone. So yeah, if anyone's trying to silence your voice, whether it's in a podcast, in a journal, in a conversation, don't let them. As long as you're speaking with respect and integrity, You don't owe anyone your silence. Update. Hey everyone, just wanted to say thank you for all the kind comments and support. I really wasn't expecting this post to get so much attention, but reading through what you all shared meant a lot. It's comforting to know I'm not the only one who's dealt with this kind of situation, and I'm genuinely grateful for the encouragement. A few people have asked for the name of my podcast, and I just want to clarify that I've kept it private on purpose. I'm happy to share my story here, but my podcast isn't meant to go viral or get hundreds of new listeners overnight. It's a small space that kind of finds the people it's meant to reach. That's always been the point. So while I seriously appreciate the good vibes, and I'm glad some of what I said resonated with people, I hope you'll understand why I'm not dropping the name. I want it to stay authentic, and honestly, that means keeping it a little quiet. Thanks again for all the support. It really did mean more than you probably realize. More people seriously need to start doing what you did. Too many of us just roll over and let workplace higher-ups bully us because we think we have no choice. I spent 6 years in the military, and that's where this kind of thing is at its worst. You're literally trained to submit to your superiors no matter how they treat you. Doesn't matter if they're incompetent or mistreating you. You're expected to take it and stay silent. Since getting out, I've worked in a few civilian jobs, and while it's a lot better, that mindset can stick with you if you're not careful. The truth is, even in civilian jobs, you still need to protect yourself. Document everything, know your rights, and don't be afraid to speak up when something isn't right. What you did took guts, and it sets an example for others who are dealing with the same kind of quiet power plays. Respect. I'm always amazed reading these kinds of stories that Americans post. I'm not from the US, and where I live, it's actually pretty rare for management to treat employees like this. Of course, no system is perfect, but in most workplaces here, there's a strong sense of respect between leadership and staff. If a manager behaved the way some of these people in the stories do, they'd probably be removed quickly. It makes me wonder, why does it seem like in America, so many employees are mistreated by their higher-ups? Is it just a cultural thing, or is the system really that broken? I'm genuinely curious. As someone who lives here, yeah, it really is that broken. The people who get promoted are the most assertive, but in reality, that just means they're the ones who care the least about others. They know how to play the game, hit the numbers, even if it means treating their team like garbage. Everything is about metrics here. Productivity, output, deadlines, it all comes first. Whether the people doing the work are burned out, miserable, or completely unsupported doesn't matter as long as the numbers look good. And sadly, a lot of good people get pushed out or stay silent just to survive in it. Facts. It's not just in the workplace either. It starts in our school system. From a young age, kids are taught to compete with each other constantly. Grades, test scores, sports, college, dating, everything's a race. And if you fall behind, there's no safety net. It's all about pushing yourself harder, faster, better, and there's barely any space for things like mental health or emotional well-being. And if you're not winning, you're seen as lazy or weak. The whole country runs on this idea of constant competition, and it pits people against each other instead of building communities that actually support one another. Have you ever had a boss that you just couldn't stand? If so, what was the worst thing about them? We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Has anyone here ever actually had a good boss? I think that's the question we should be asking. My son's friend's parents want to adopt him. All names have been changed to protect everyone involved. I'm 24, female, a single mom raising my son Owen, who's 8. It's been just the two of us since the day he was born. His dad disappeared before I even made it home from the hospital. My parents disowned me soon after that. So everything Owen and I have, I built on my own. We live in a small one-bedroom apartment. It's not ideal, but it's safe, clean, and good enough for now. I've worked every job I could. Retail, waiting tables, cleaning houses, just to keep us going. We're not living in poverty, but every dollar has a destination. Even so, I've always tried to teach Owen that money doesn't measure happiness. He's grown up knowing that birthdays might be simple, but love and effort mean more than expensive gifts. He's never gone without the basics, food, clothes, school supplies, but I can't always give him the extras that the other kids have. Last year, everything changed when Owen started at his new school. It's across town near my job, and it uses a lottery system for enrollment. I was lucky he got in. The school's great, but most of the families there live a very different life from ours. That's where Owen met his best friend, Charlie. They clicked instantly. Same interests, same sense of humor, same energy. Charlie's parents, Nate and Paige, were always around volunteering at school events. When I met them, they seemed like the perfect couple. Warm, friendly, always smiling. They had the kind of life that looked effortless. When Owen started spending time at their house after school, I thought it was great. They had a backyard, a trampoline, shelves full of books and games. It was the kind of environment that every kid loves. Charlie came over to our apartment sometimes too, but the boys usually preferred his house, and honestly, it made sense. My place is small, and I often work late. Everything seemed harmless. Paige even offered to watch Owen during spring break since I couldn't find a camp with an open spot. I was hesitant. I didn't want to take advantage, but she insisted. She said she'd be home anyway and loved having both boys around. When I picked him up that Friday, Owen was glowing. They had gone to a museum, the zoo, and even a mini golf course. I tried to pay Paige something for the week, but she waved me off and said, "Don't worry about it. He's like one of ours." That line stuck with me. I thought she meant it kindly, and maybe she did. But looking back, it feels different. Over the months, they invited Owen to everything. Family movie nights, day trips, vacations. They even took him with them on a weekend beach getaway. Each time I was grateful, but also uneasy. I couldn't match what they gave him, and I didn't want him to feel like our life was less. When I asked Paige once why she was so generous, she said they had always wanted another child but couldn't have one. She told me, "Charlie adores Owen. It's nice seeing him have a brotherly bond." At the time, I thought it was sweet. Maybe I was naive, but I didn't see the harm in it. Christmas came around, and they invited Owen for a few days. They showered him with gifts, toys, books, even clothes I couldn't afford. When I showed up with my modest presents, it made me feel small. Still, I kept telling myself it was about Owen's happiness, not my pride. Then came this year's spring break. Paige offered to have Owen stay the entire week. She said she missed having the house full of energy and wanted to keep the boys together. It seemed helpful, especially since I could pick up extra shifts, so I agreed. Saturday afternoon, I went to pick him up. The boys were in the backyard laughing while Paige and Nate invited me to sit at the table. They were unusually serious. Paige started by saying how much they loved Owen. She called him polite, kind, easy to be around. I thanked her for everything they had done. Then Nate said something that made my stomach twist. He asked if I had ever considered letting Owen live with them long term. At first, I thought he was joking. I even laughed and said, "What, like you'd be his guardians or something?" They didn't laugh. They told me they could handle his expenses and that I could still visit, but they'd take care of him full time. Paige said something about how every child deserves the best opportunities. Nate added that I could make it official through a guardianship agreement and that it would make things easier for everyone. I froze. The air felt heavy. I told them flat out no. They started pushing, gently at first, then firmer. They said I needed to think about what was best for Owen, that they could give him what I couldn't. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about helping anymore. They genuinely wanted my son. I told them there was no way I'd ever give up my child. I stood up, went outside, and told Owen it was time to go. They didn't try to stop me, but the silence behind me felt suffocating. As soon as we got home, I blocked their numbers and kept Owen close. He didn't understand why, and I didn't know how to explain it yet. I called the school that night and told them under no circumstances should those people ever pick him up again. The secretary sounded alarmed, but promised to make a note on his file. The next day, I took time off work to figure out my next steps. I called the police just to be safe, but they said that since no laws had technically been broken, all they could do was file a report. I've never been this scared. I keep replaying every time I ignored my gut. The vacations, the gifts, the "like one of us" comment. I should have seen it coming. I thought they were kind. Turns out, kindness has limits when it comes with ownership. Now I have to explain to Owen why he can't see his best friend anymore, and I don't even know where to start. They wanted to adopt your kid behind your back. That's not kindness. They saw a struggling mom and thought they could buy their way into your family. You're not stupid. They were calculated. You did everything right by getting out now. They probably couldn't adopt through the system and tried to find someone vulnerable to manipulate. I've seen this before with families who collect kids they can't have themselves. Keep every message, block every contact, and protect your son. You did the right thing. Update: they tried again. I couldn't believe what had happened, but I wanted to think maybe it would stop there. Maybe they realized how wrong they were. It didn't. I had already called the school and the aftercare center, and I told them that Nate and Paige were never to pick up my son again. Both promised to update their lists and assured me Owen's safety was their top priority. For a few days, things felt normal. Owen went to school, played outside, came home, watched cartoons. I started to breathe again. Then Tuesday afternoon, I got a call from the aftercare center. The woman on the phone sounded tense. She said a woman had come to pick up Owen, insisting she was allowed to take him home. When the staff told her she wasn't on the list, she refused to leave. It was Paige. They called the police when she wouldn't stop arguing. By the time officers arrived, Owen had been taken to a separate room and kept safe. Paige was escorted out. She wasn't arrested, but there's now a police report and a formal trespassing warning. When I got there, Owen was confused, but okay. He said Paige had smiled at him from the lobby window before the staff pulled him away. That night, I barely slept. The officers explained that while she hadn't technically broken the law by showing up, the report would help me get a protection order. I filed one the next day. The police also told me to let every official organization connected to Owen know what had happened. So I contacted the school again, his doctor's office, and even the summer camp he was signed up for. Every single one now has written notes saying that those two are not to have any contact. When I told Owen everything, I kept it calm. I said some people make bad choices when they think they know better than others, and that he needed to stay away from them. He got quiet for a moment, then said he didn't want to see them again. I could tell it hurt him. He loved Charlie, but even at 8, he understood that this crossed a line. I'm grateful for everyone who's reached out with advice. I've saved every message, every email. I'm not scared anymore, just focused. They won't get near him again. You handled this perfectly. The moment she tried to pick him up, it became real. Getting the police involved was the right call, and that protection order will make a huge difference. Stay alert, but you're doing everything by the book. Update on telling my son the truth. I wanted to believe we were finally safe after that incident, but I knew Owen deserved to understand what was going on. He's 8 and old enough to notice when something's off, old enough to worry when grown-ups act strange. One night I set him down after dinner. I didn't want to scare him, but I had to be honest. I told him that sometimes people think they're helping when they're actually crossing a line. Then I explained that Paige and Nate wanted to adopt him and that it wasn't right. At first he didn't understand. He asked if he had done something wrong. When I told him no, he started crying. He said he didn't want to leave me and didn't want to see them ever again. I hugged him tight and promised he would never have to. The next morning I emailed his teacher and counselor, explaining that Owen might seem distracted for a few days. Everyone at the school was supportive. They said they'd keep an extra eye on him during recess and dismissal. When I dropped him off, he clung to me a little longer than usual. But that day came and went without any problems. That night, he said something that broke me a little. He told me he didn't need presents or trips anymore, that he just wanted things to stay the way they are. I told him they would. I also want to make something clear for everyone who's been reaching out. We don't need donations or gifts. I appreciate the kindness, but that wasn't why I shared this story. Owen and I are okay. We have food, a roof, and each other. If anyone wants to help, please put that kindness toward your local food shelter or food bank. As for Paige and Nate, I haven't heard from them since the police report. I'm hoping that means they finally understand how far they went. Still, I'm not letting my guard down. Not yet. You're doing the right thing being upfront with your son. Kids pick up on fear faster than we think, and honesty gives them security. He knows he's safe with you, and that's what matters most. Update, 3.5 years later. I can't believe it's been almost 3.5 years since everything happened. I wasn't planning to post again, but a few people have kept checking in, and honestly, it feels good to share how far we've come. After the incident at the aftercare center, I stayed in the same city for a while. I didn't have the money to move right away, and I didn't want to uproot Owen too suddenly. The school promised that Nate and Paige wouldn't be allowed to volunteer anymore, and for a while it seemed like they'd finally backed off. Owen finished the school year, and things went quiet. I started breathing normally again. I even began to think that maybe it was all behind us. But when the next school year started, I walked into class and saw Charlie's name on the same door as Owen's. I froze. The principal told me it was unavoidable and that I couldn't possibly understand the logistics. I tried to stay calm, telling myself Paige and Nate were still banned. Then the letter from the classroom moms arrived, listing the volunteers and fundraisers for the year. Paige's name was right there at the bottom. My heart sank. When I went back to the school, the principal brushed it off again, saying Paige had donated money and helped the community. They said it had been months without incident, so there was no reason to restrict her anymore. It was like the air got thin again. I didn't want to scare Owen, but I prepared him just in case. I told him that if she ever tried to talk to him, he needed to stay near a teacher. He nodded and said he remembered everything. Sure enough, a few weeks later at a class party, she showed up. Owen told me afterward that she tried to start conversations, asked for my new number, and even told him to come visit sometime. Thankfully, he knew better and walked away. That night, I decided we were done living like that. The school wasn't going to protect us anymore. I started applying for jobs outside the city, anything that would let me move us somewhere safe. Around that time, I found a live-in nanny position about 3 hours away. The family was kind and didn't mind me bringing Owen. They had an in-law suite I could use, so we'd have privacy and stability. I didn't think I'd get the job, but they hired me. Within a month, we'd packed what little we had and moved. The adjustment was huge. Owen missed his friends, but he loved the new school. He got along with the kids I cared for and liked that he could spend more time with me instead of being in aftercare all day. At first, I was nervous being around another family. After everything, it was hard to trust. But they were respectful, warm, and kind. When I eventually told them our story, they were horrified. They promised Owen's safety was as important to them as their own children's. For the first time in years, I felt peace. The family eventually no longer needed a nanny once their kids got older, but they helped me find another position nearby. By then, I'd saved enough money to put a down payment on a condo. It's still small, but it's actually ours now. Owen has his own room now. We decorated it together with blue walls, superhero posters, a desk by the window. The first night he slept in it, he got quiet and said he felt weird but happy. I knew exactly what he meant. He's thriving. His teachers say that he's doing great in school and he's made new friends. He still talks about Charlie sometimes, but never with sadness. He just says he hopes his friend is doing okay. As for Nate and Paige, I haven't heard a single word since we left. Sometimes I still think about them and wonder what made them cross that line. Maybe they thought love meant control. Maybe they just couldn't stand not getting what they wanted. Either way, they're in the past now. I'm 27 now. I have steady work, a good support network, and a partner I've been seeing for over a year. He's patient and good with Owen. I used to think I'd be alone forever, but I've learned that peace attracts the right kind of people. Owen told me something a few nights ago that made me cry, the good kind of tears. He said, "Mom, even if we didn't have anything, I'd still be happy because it's us." That's everything I ever needed to hear. We're safe, we're free, and we're finally home. This story gave me chills. You did everything right from day one, even when people tried to make you doubt yourself. You saved your son's life and built a better one from scratch. Absolute hero, mama. I still can't believe the school let Paige volunteer again. The system failed you, but you refused to fail your kid. I hope Nate and Paige never get near anyone else. You and Owen deserve every bit of peace you have now. You're proof that strength isn't about money, it's about instinct. The way you protected him, moved, and rebuilt everything, that's real love. I'm so glad he's doing well and has his own space now. He'll remember that forever. OP really did prove that you don't need a lot of money to raise a kid right, just love and a spine of steel. Exactly. Some people dream of the perfect family. She made one. Would I be the jerk if I refused to attend my best friend's wedding because she's making guests pay for everything? I've been best friends with Emily since college. She's always been dramatic in that harmless main character way. The friend who turns every coffee run into a story and every new crush into a fairy tale. She's also the type who changes her entire personality with every life phase. We've been through it all. Breakups, new jobs, even the time she quit work to find herself in Bali for 3 weeks. So when she told me she was engaged, I was genuinely happy for her. I thought maybe this would be the chapter where she finally found some stability. At first, everything sounded normal. She wanted a small wedding. Then she sent me a link to a Pinterest board labeled La Dolce Vita, Our Dream Wedding, Amalfi Coast, Italy, crystal blue water, luxury villas. The kind of setting you see in movies. I figured, okay, destination weddings are expensive, but she's always had big dreams. She mentioned she'd found great deals for guests, and I assumed that meant she was trying to make it easy on everyone. Then a week later, she sent out a Google Doc. The title? Wedding Guest Contributions. I wish I was joking. It had color-coded sections, bullet points, and payment links. It was basically a bill disguised as an invitation. Here's what she expected every guest to cover. $300 for the rehearsal dinner, mandatory. $250 for group activities, like a private boat tour and wine tastings. $150 for coordinated pastel-themed attire for her photo shoot. $100 minimum for the wedding gift fund. And that's all before paying for flights, hotels, and time off work. I stared at the document for 10 minutes, thinking it had to be a mistake. When I asked if she really meant for everyone to pay those fees, she replied casually like it was nothing. She said, "It's not that big of a deal. Everyone's chipping in. Love requires effort." Meanwhile, on Instagram, she's been showing off new designer bags, spa trips, and the luxury honeymoon she already booked. She even had a bachelorette in Paris. She covered her own costs for that trip, but made the bridesmaids pay for her fiancé's flight as a fun surprise. That was the moment I realized this wasn't about love. This was about funding a fantasy. I tried to talk to her calmly. I said, "Hey, I love you, but I can't afford all that. Between travel and everything else, it's too much." She went quiet for a few seconds, then said, "I just expected more loyalty from you." It hit harder than I expected. We'd been friends for over 10 years. I'd been there through every heartbreak, through the calls at 2 a.m. when she swore she'd never find love, through the time she needed help moving or needed someone to hype her up. But suddenly, loyalty meant spending thousands to stand beside her for one weekend? When I didn't agree right away, she doubled down. She told me that real friends show up and that it wouldn't be the same without me. Then she added, "Everyone else has already confirmed." That's the part that really made me second-guess myself. Everyone else? Was I overreacting? So I reached out to two of our mutual friends, both bridesmaids, and asked what they thought. Turns out, neither of them had confirmed. They were just scared to tell her no. One's still paying off student loans, and the other just bought a condo. They both admitted they didn't want to go broke trying to support someone who didn't seem to care how much she was asking. It got worse when Emily sent another group message a few days later. She said she had booked the villa already and needed everyone's deposits by next Friday. No discussion, no options, just a demand. I told her I wouldn't be sending anything until I was sure I could go. She didn't reply. Instead, she unfollowed me on Instagram that night. It's been 2 weeks and we haven't talked since. She's still posting updates, dress fittings, flower arrangements, travel plans, all captioned with phrases like, "The ones who matter will always show up." I'm not angry, I'm just sad. I thought we had been through enough together that she'd understand what real friendship looks like. I've always supported her emotionally. I just can't do it financially too. I haven't officially told her I'm not going, but I think she already knows. Part of me feels guilty, like I'm abandoning her when she's excited about her big day. But another part of me knows that no one should have to go into debt to prove their loyalty. So would I be the jerk if I refuse to attend because I won't pay thousands of dollars to be part of someone else's dream wedding? Not the jerk. You're not wrong for wanting to skip it. This isn't a wedding. It's a group vacation you're being forced to finance. Real friends don't demand loyalty payments. I wouldn't pay to attend many things, but especially a wedding. It's giving rich girl aesthetic on everyone else's dime vibes. Save your money, send a card, and watch the drama from home. It's not about love, it's about a vibe. No thank you. She's clearly planning an Instagram event, not a marriage. Wouldn't even be surprised if half the stuff's rented and the rest is on a payment plan. I knew someone who had a full-blown resort wedding. They were still paying it off when they broke up 9 months later. Not the jerk. She's probably getting kickbacks from those mandatory tour vendors too. Happens all the time with destination weddings. The boat rides, the pastel theme, the gift fund. Yeah, that's not a celebration of romance. That's a flex trip. $20 says the marriage doesn't even make it to the first anniversary. Imagine sending guests a Google Doc labeled wedding expenses. That's not romance. That's a fundraiser. Yeah, more like a luxury pyramid scheme with matching pastel dresses. And she says love requires effort? Sure, but not a down payment. Give it a year. You know they'll still be paying off that boat tour once their marriage sinks. She refused to honor my voucher, so I gave her restaurant a review. I've always been one of those people who actually enjoys leaving reviews. Some people unwind by scrolling social media or gaming. I like to write about the places I visit. Over the years, I've built up enough credibility that some businesses have even given me little perks like free appetizers, early access to promos, that sort of thing. So when I noticed a restaurant voucher about to expire, I figured I'd use it before it went to waste. It was a small, family-run restaurant in a busy part of town. Nothing fancy, but those are often the places with the best food. When my friend and I walked in, though, the energy felt off. The place was half empty, but no one greeted us. We stood there awkwardly for what must have been 5 minutes while staff walked by pretending not to see us. Eventually, someone at the counter asked if we were there to pick up or dine in, barely glancing up from their phone. I told them we wanted to eat in and mentioned the voucher I planned to use before it expired. They frowned, called for the owner, and this woman came out, already looking annoyed before I had even said anything. I explained that the voucher was still valid and showed it to her. She immediately brushed it off, saying they weren't accepting them anymore. When I pointed out the printed expiration date, that exact day, she just insisted it was too late. I stayed calm, told her I'd just request a refund if she wasn't going to honor it, and started to step away. That's when she launched into a rant about how people like me were always trying to scam small businesses. I didn't bother engaging, I just thanked her for her time and left. Later that night, I wrote my review. Nothing exaggerated, no insults, just a factual account of what happened. How a valid voucher was refused, how the service had been cold and dismissive, and how the owner had turned rude for no reason. An hour later, my phone buzzed. It was her. She had found my review and started sending me a string of messages, calling me names, accusing me of trying to ruin her business, and throwing in a few words I won't repeat here. I replied once, calmly explaining that reviews exist so customers can share their experiences honestly, and that if she didn't want vouchers used, she shouldn't advertise them in the first place. Her next message was even worse. She started making offensive comments about the people who typically work in restaurant kitchens, the kind that tell you everything you need to know about someone's character. At that point, I didn't argue. I just thanked her for her feedback. I took screenshots of every message and uploaded them directly under her business's review page. The screenshot said everything I didn't even have to. A day later, the messages stopped. I guess she realized how bad she had made herself look. Those screenshots are still up today, clear as day, and her restaurant's rating has never recovered. If you treat customers like garbage, don't be surprised when honesty is what takes you down. What a business genius! Nothing says great customer service like ignoring people at the door, refusing a valid voucher, and then personally messaging a reviewer to insult them. That's next level marketing right there. Honestly, she basically fired herself with that meltdown. If she's the owner, she doesn't need competition. She's taking care of that all by herself. You can't treat people like dirt and expect 5-star reviews. Those screenshots probably did more damage than any refund ever could. I had something similar happen when I left a review about a restaurant through a delivery app. I mentioned burnt food and missing items, and they told me to use the app's help center like the problem was with the app, not their kitchen. Like, sorry, but Uber Eats didn't overcook your food. You did. Some of these places think they're untouchable until someone posts what really happened, and then they start crying about cancel culture. Nah, it's just called accountability. I can't believe she didn't know when to shut up. It's wild that some people don't know when to stop digging their own grave. The moment she started sending you messages, she basically handed you the rope to end her reputation with. And the fact that she started making those offensive comments, that's the part that gets me. She told on herself. Some people can't stand being called out, so they double down until they burn their own business to the ground. Good on you for staying calm and letting her words do the work. Imagine thinking customer service means personally attacking the customer. And the best part? She documented her own downfall. Free advertising, just not the kind she wanted. 5 stars for entertainment, 0 for business sense. My family sold my rock collection when I went to college. What am I supposed to do? I, 19 female, am a college freshman, and I'm currently visiting my mom over break. When I got there, I saw a crystal that was in my old room on display and asked about it. My mom then told me that the rest were gone after the yard sale. For context, my parents were moving at the same time I was getting ready for college, so the house was in chaos. I had a rock collection that I had been growing for around 10 years, which had cost me over $1,000. Some were gifts from old friends or family, some I had found in special destinations of significance, and all of them were important to me. Since the collection took up 2 cabinets, I knew I couldn't take it to my dorm room and decided to pack them up. My brother also likes rocks, so I thought he would be a good fit to look after them while I couldn't, or at least until I decorated my room when my parents bought a house. Apparently, my brother picked through the boxes and told my mother to sell everything he didn't want to keep. My aunt and mother took a few pieces that they liked, but hundreds of rocks were either donated or sold, with none of the profit going to me and without my knowledge. When I learned this, I broke down into tears. I know they're just rocks, but they brought me a lot of happiness, and I can't believe they're just gone. Writing this out is making me cry again. My mother feels really sorry, and I don't blame anyone for this, but I'm crushed. How do I deal with this loss and not take it out on my family? I'm not mad at anyone, I just wish I had explained better or something, and I don't want my family to think I'm angry with them. Edit. My family didn't mean to steal, they just assumed I was giving them away. It wasn't necessarily malicious, but it was definitely wrong. Also, I think the reason I'm struggling to be mad is that my mom and I have a really good relationship. She's the person I can always rely on, and I'm really hoping this situation is a misunderstanding that I see it as. Thank you for your replies. I haven't had anyone to talk to about this since all my friends are busy, and the only other people around me are my family. Edit 2. My parents are well off, so I don't think they sold them for the money. Any money made was probably put into household funds, and I doubt they made $1,000 off the items. That's just how much I estimate I've spent. I would feel very guilty asking them for that much, especially since they are paying for my college, so I'm thinking about maybe asking them to buy something of equivalent value. I've never had to bargain with my parents, so I'm not sure how it will go. I'm going to talk to them tonight since my dad is here now. I'm going to take the advice of writing something out to read to them. All the people saying I'm a pushover are 100% correct, but I'm going to try not to be when I talk to them. Edit 3. I just talked to my parents and used a kind of long speech that included some specific memories I had connected to the rocks and asked to be compensated financially for the loss. I was crying the whole time, so I'm not sure how much of it they understood. Surprisingly, they're completely willing to pay me back for it, and my parents were both genuinely sorry and admitted it was their fault. They told me they were surprised that I didn't want the rocks, but at the same time, I was giving away other sentimental things like stuffed animals that they thought I would have kept. Because of this, they didn't think to call me to confirm since the times they had with other things I had agreed. They said they're going to get everything back from my aunt and brother. My mom has already rounded up what she took, and they want to take me rock shopping for the rest of the weekend we have together. This has been such a chaotic day for me, and I never expected so many people to reach out. For those suggesting it, I'm looking into therapy. I think my issues with confrontation and social pressure in general warrant some professional help. My dad actually noted that he was proud of me for bringing it up to them the way I did. I'm going to be a combination of mad and sad for a while, but now it isn't all stuck inside me. Why don't you blame anyone? You should blame all of them. Why shouldn't you be angry? They took your property and pilfered through it and sold the rest and kept the money. They didn't even ask you what you wanted done with your collection. Tell your mom they had no right to do that and that they need to make amends. Whatever rocks they kept, they need to return. Whatever money they got should be given to you. Am I the jerk because I won't let friends decide who gets me in their divorce? I, female, had a very good friend, John, in high school. He started dating Jane. We're all the same age. In college, I met and married my husband. We all went to the same college and got along famously. It was really the most ideal situation ever. One night, now 15 years into our friendship and 11 years into my marriage, I hear the phone and my husband is basically flying out the door in the dead of the night. I asked what's going on. He said he couldn't tell me and was super uncomfortable with the situation. I saw his phone said it was John. He apologized profusely, said he didn't know what to do, could only say he promised not to tell, and left. I sat up waiting for hours, wondering what had happened. My mind was spinning. Long story short, Jane had been cheating on John and had a hysterectomy behind his back. John left her and gathered his friends to tell them. When my husband came home, he was surprised I was still up. Apparently, Jane was supposed to meet with me and her other friends, but she had passed out, messing up the plan to tell everyone at the same time. I confronted John, saying I had been friends with him before Jane, before anyone in the group. Not only that, but he got my husband to lie to me, which I found unacceptable. He said they agreed Jane could have me in the divorce, so he didn't know what else to do. She doesn't have much family and now has fewer, if any, friends. John desperately wanted a big family, and now that's gone. They both knew I wouldn't forgive something like this easily. Even if I did, it's my choice who I decide to keep or not keep as my friends. I'm not property to be divided. I let it go because I knew John was devastated. They had been trying to conceive, and the whole time it was a lie. My husband and I talked. I don't approve of what happened, but he thought I'd be getting my own call, and that I'd be confused and worried for minutes, not hours. Moving forward, John says I need to be there for Jane. He invites my husband out, but not me. We're both devastated that our whole social group is imploding. My husband went to a few outings to support John and to give him time. It's been 6 months, and I still haven't been invited. John has said he has nothing against me in this. Jane came clean, and no one in my group is suspected of covering up for her. She simply asked for me, and John felt it was the least he could do. The group is divided. Some say I should be there for Jane. I've known her most of my life, and they believe she shouldn't have to start from scratch without any friends after a divorce. But on the secret hysterectomy alone, I just can't respect her anymore. I don't want her as a friend, but I'm the only one she asked for. Anyone causing division between me and my spouse would be getting cut off. I do not care what their personal problem is. Do not bring that drama to my home and relationship. I would be cutting John and Jane off if they think this is an acceptable way to treat a person, let alone two people who are a married couple, period. Am I the jerk for not getting my boyfriend breakfast and sleeping instead? My boyfriend, who's 22, is upset with me, 23 female, because instead of getting him breakfast a little over an hour before I had to be at work, I decided to continue sleeping. For some context, I work from home and usually don't get up until about 10 to 15 minutes before I need to clock in. Since I work from home, and luckily don't have to be on camera, I just get up, walk my dog, wash my face, and clock in. The night before, my boyfriend mentioned he wanted me to wake up an hour before work to grab him breakfast. I politely told him I wouldn't be waking up to get him breakfast because I try to sleep as long as possible. I'm a very light sleeper, and multiple times throughout the night I wake up due to even the smallest noise, and sometimes it's hard for me to fall back asleep. This is why I try to get as much sleep as possible. This morning, my boyfriend woke me up when he got up for the day, which was over an hour before I had to be up. I quickly ran to the bathroom and was heading back to bed when my boyfriend stopped me and said he wanted me to get him breakfast. I told him I wanted to go back to sleep since I had to be up soon for work, and that I was going to lie back down, which I did. I woke up a little over an hour later to my alarm, got up, and did my normal routine. I tried talking to my boyfriend, but he was ignoring me and acting very pouty. He continued this behavior until he left for work, leaving without saying a word. I called him after he left and asked why he was acting that way. After being standoffish for about 5 minutes on the phone, he said he was upset because all he wanted was for me to get him food before work, and I chose to sleep instead of getting him food. We're currently sharing one car, so I'm unable to grab food and drop it off at his workplace. I offered to DoorDash him food, but he told me no and that he couldn't eat at work because he was super busy. I then offered to buy him lunch from anywhere he wanted, but he turned that down, saying he would be too busy to eat. Am I the jerk because I didn't get him breakfast and chose to sleep? I feel conflicted because maybe I should have just gotten up instead of sleeping and got him food. Edit. I've been getting a lot of questions about whether it was a special day or if something different happened. Nope, it was not a special day, just another Friday. I actually bought groceries yesterday and included some breakfast items. Edit 2. Does he randomly buy me breakfast? No, he doesn't. When we have breakfast, I'm usually the one to grab it or cook it. Was he busy? When I woke up, he was sitting on his gaming table watching TikTok, so I assume he wasn't busy. But I'm not exactly sure how his work days go, as one day can be super busy and the next not so much. Why couldn't he pick it up on his way to work? I asked him this question, and he told me he didn't want his clothes to smell like food. How do I have enough time to walk my dog? In the morning, we do a very quick bathroom break. I take her out multiple times throughout the day since I work from home, and we go for a long walk late at night. Why did he need you to get him breakfast this day? What does he usually do about breakfast? OP. He didn't need me to. He just wanted me to. He had 2 hours before he had to be into work. He even decided to go into work 30 minutes early. I'm not sure what he does for breakfast. He usually leaves before I'm awake, just on certain days he doesn't have to go in early. He was testing you. There's an awful lot of these going around on TikTok these days about testing your spouse's love. So he could be doing that because he's dumb and spends too much time online. Are you his girlfriend or his mommy? He pouts when you don't do what he wants? I hope he's really wealthy or something, because this sounds crazy. He can wake up, get dressed, drive to work, hold a job for a while, drive back home, but he can't make his own breakfast? Sorry to tell you this, but your boyfriend is not a real man. Make your own breakfast, you lazy jerk. Not the jerk. Look, I make my husband lunches at 6 a.m. every morning for work when I don't have to be up until about 7:30. I do it because I know he appreciates it and he's busy getting ready and doing stuff with the dogs in the morning. He also does a lot for our family, so even though I work full-time too, I don't mind. But your boyfriend is a giant baby who could have gotten himself food or had it delivered. Instead, he's trying to control you and see how much he can get you to bend. I'd bet good money and my therapy career that later he'll say, "I was testing to see if you were wifey material." Am I the jerk for refusing full custody of my daughter after my husband asked for a divorce? My husband, Alex, who's 33, and I, 31 female, have been together for 7 years and married for 4. From the beginning of our relationship, Alex was always excited about the idea of having kids, while I was more on the fence about it. I had seen how hard it can be for single moms and had promised myself I would never be in that position. Plus, I work as a software engineer and I love my career. I didn't want to give it up to become a mom. After Alex and I got married, my fears began to fade. We were very much in love and I felt safe with him. I shared my concerns and he said all the right things to put my mind at ease. So we decided to try for a baby and had our daughter, Ramona, 2 years after we got married. The pregnancy and the first year after Ramona's birth were extremely hard on me. I had multiple health complications, some of which were life-threatening and permanently altered my body. I was disabled and nearly passed once in the 6 months following birth. During this time, my husband grew distant and angry when we would talk. I spent a lot of time in and out of the hospital, unable to work, so much of the baby care fell to him. It was all I could do just to stay alive and get better, being separated from my daughter and husband so much. Eventually, I improved enough to help more with the baby, but after I was discharged from the hospital, Alex barely spoke to me. I want to clarify that at no point did I neglect our daughter if I was able to take care of her. I leaned on him a lot during this period, but I was fighting for my health and my life so I could continue to be there for her. If I had pushed myself too hard, I would have made things worse. We remained in this state of limbo for a while. I was still recovering, not back to 100%, but able to resume a somewhat normal life, and we shared more responsibility with Ramona. I tried talking to Alex many times over the next 6 months, but he wouldn't engage. He either stayed silent or became angry, insisting I was making things up and blaming me for somehow criticizing him. It was constant deflection from whatever was bothering him. About 9 months after Ramona's birth, I found another job, and for a short while, things seemed to improve, or so I thought. Shortly after Ramona's first birthday, Alex served me with divorce papers. He said he had fallen out of love with me a long time ago and was ready to move on. I was in complete shock. Things had started to improve between us, but he explained that was because he had already decided to leave and felt less unhappy. It was a Saturday when this happened, so I made sure he would be home to care for Ramona for the weekend. Then I packed a bag and left until Sunday evening. I didn't tell him where I was going. Truthfully, I didn't really go anywhere. I just drove, crossing 2 states before I finally stopped, needing time to think. When I returned Sunday evening, he was furious that I had left him alone with her. He's always seemed put off any time he had to care for her by himself, and this time was no different. I sat him down and carefully said, "I will grant you a no-contest divorce, but I am not accepting full custody of Ramona." If he was angry before, he was explosive now. All the things he hated about me finally came out. He said I was a horrible mother, too weak to carry a baby, and now I was just leaving her. I calmly explained that I love our daughter dearly and would not leave her. I would pay child support and visit her every other weekend. I would always be there for her in any way I could, but I had been clear with him when we got married that I never wanted to be a single mom. At this point, he started flipping out. I refused to stay and deal with that, so I went to check on Ramona, kissed her, grabbed my bag, and left again. A few days later, his mother texted me. Alex had left Ramona with her for a few days, and she had some harsh words for me, saying that a mother should never leave her kid. I told her it wasn't her business and that her son doesn't get a free pass to restart his life just because his wife nearly passed during pregnancy, and he grew resentful of the responsibility. Alex has also been blowing up my phone, asking when I'm going to come back so you can take your daughter. I've only replied, "I've already told you what's going to happen here." Have you looked into adoption? I'm sure you could find a nice family for her, better than bringing her up feeling unwanted. I'm impressed with OP's ability to recognize she wouldn't be a good mother. I think not enough people have that level of introspection, but dang, what a bad situation for their daughter. It sounds like your daughter is still very young. You and your ex should do the right thing by that kid and put her up for adoption. She will then have parents who will want and love her, and she won't even remember you two. It's best all around. I know it's cold, but I agree. That kid deserves better, and if neither of them want her, then they need to own up and fully commit to those choices. Thousands of couples want to adopt and want to give Ramona the family she deserves. These two people never should have had kids, but they did. You're certainly no more of a jerk than men who do the same thing. You're not wrong for granting his wish for a divorce, and you're not wrong for not letting him be single and free of responsibility. You both brought this baby into the world, so you both are responsible for her 50-50. What exactly that responsibility looks like will be determined by the courts. But in reality, neither of you deserve this baby that you're both fighting to get rid of. Hopefully an arrangement works out where at least someone loves this baby the way that they deserve. My Karen wife loses it on me after I bought her the Krabby Patty she wanted from Wendy's. My wife has mentioned in the past that she wanted to try the Krabby Patty burger and a pineapple frosty from Wendy's. On my way home from work, I decided to surprise her. I picked up a Krabby Patty burger, a chicken sandwich for myself, and 2 pineapple frosties. I knew she was about an hour away, so I told her I had a surprise waiting for her when she got home. To keep the food fresh, I put her burger in the fridge and the frosty in the freezer. I even ordered the burger without lettuce, thinking I could avoid it getting soggy, and we have lettuce at home that we could add fresh. When she got home, she was excited about the frosty and asked, "Is there a Krabby Patty burger too?" I told her to check the fridge, and that's when things went downhill. She got upset because the burger was cold and I didn't get fries. She said that real justice would have been me waiting for her to come home so we could both get fresh food together, or at least putting my food in the fridge too, so we'd both be eating cold food. She accused me of always expecting grand thanks for doing gestures that aren't as big as I think they are, and said I didn't listen to her since she wanted the full meal, not just the burger and frosty. She also said she's not going to pretend to be grateful for something that wasn't what she asked for. I was just trying to do something nice, and now I feel like my gesture was totally unappreciated. Update. So we talked about it, and I explained that I didn't have a problem if she would have said, "I appreciate the gesture, but I would have liked to get it together," or if we could have waited until she was home. I told her I understand why she was upset, and we both agreed that there was a better way to talk about it. She took a bite just now and said, "This is just a Dave's single with fancy sauce," so she doesn't even want to eat it anymore, hot or cold. Update 2. I'm the jerk. I'll wear that hat with this one. What gesture? You picked up fast food. Don't act like you slaved away in that drive-thru. Not to mention, leftover fast food is nasty. You didn't even wait to share the meal with her. Yeah, you're the jerk. You're the jerk. There are certain fast foods I actually can't eat hours later because they just don't keep well. The gesture means nothing if it's obvious that no thought was actually put into it. Also, the way she's talking makes this sound like it's a recurring problem. You're the jerk. It's all a bit thoughtless and insensitive. You could have waited until she got home and took a little trip together to Wendy's, and on the way had a nice conversation about how your days went, and then tried the food together when it was hot and fresh. These tiny shared experiences together are what accumulate into a relationship that feels satisfying and connected. Instead, you treated yourself to hot, fresh food. She got no shared experience with you. All she got was a cold, crappy novelty fast food burger and frosty that was messed up because it was frozen. I don't believe for 1 second you would buy yourself fast food and then immediately stick it in the fridge for you to eat later. Why would you think that would be acceptable for her? I get the impression that you wanted to be thoughtful with the least amount of inconvenience or effort possible to yourself, because it would have been so easy just to wait and go eat together. And if that wasn't the intent, then you gotta start working on building the empathy that allows you to see that nobody likes cold, stale burgers. Not the jerk. Guarantee you if the roles were flipped and she had bought it for you and you acted like this, everyone would be calling you an ungrateful man-child who should go get your own fast food if you aren't happy with what she got for you. But of course, as usual, you're a dude, so you're the bad guy. And your wife acting like a petulant child throwing a fit for not getting her way is the good guy, because Reddit. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. Imagine your mom falls head over heels in love with ChatGPT and your dad decides to divorce her. That's exactly what happens in our next story. It just popped up on your screen. Give it a tap and come have a listen. Karen and I are already waiting for you.